I saw the title for my last video, literally the last video, which is about 28 minutes long. If you saw the title for it, you probably didn't see the full title, but half of the title, the second portion of the title says you can skip to the 11 minute and 40. Is there, Carl? I'm telling you guys, every time I record, every time I begin, um, it says you can skip to the 11 minute 40 second mark, because I don't really want you guys to hear me talking. I want you guys to hear the experts talking. Right? Even in my own field, I won't consider myself an expert, but they are experts in their field, in science. And I wanted you guys to hear their explanations. Okay, and each of the people that I mentioned in the video, now, as you before you get to the 11:40 minute mark, or maybe a little bit after, I quote or I list the names of a lot of the top scientists in the world, and these people, they are at the top of their fields. Okay, they're not among other scientists, they are above other scientists. They've reached the epitome. Okay, so they know more than most scientists. Okay, and because they know their field so well, they used to be evolutionists. Now they can't bring themselves to believe that natural processes can lead to life. They absolutely argue against it. But because of that, now the science community has shunned them. Okay, but so I want you guys to go to that video and skip everything that I talk about and just listen to them. Okay, and that's just some of them. I only posted a few of them because I didn't want the video to be too long, and I want you guys to search up the videos that I listed in that video. Like I put like a listing, and then you do your own research. But the reason why this, now I saw it was the 11:40 minute mark I put, right? But at that same time that I saw that I put the 11:40 minute mark, the time was 11:40. I don't know. But anyway, the reason why this topic is so concerns me so much is because some time ago, I considered myself to be a believer. This is a while ago. I considered myself to be like a Christian. I believe in God. Somebody asked me, "You believe in God?" I say, "Yeah, I believe in God." And then, ever since I turned a particular age, I started to test myself, and I would put myself in my mind in situations that were life and death situations. And in these life and death situations, I would put myself under the most fearful and fearsome ways to be killed. And obviously, it wouldn't just be for no reason, it would be for God. And I would put myself through that because I'm saying to myself, well, Sam, you believe in God, right? So were this situation to befall you, you wouldn't have a single shred of fear in you, would you? I mean, you shouldn't, because you believe in God, right? Yeah, you believe in God, right? So why should you fear death? God, by definition, is all powerful, all knowing, is the giver of life. He is everything. Like, just sum it up. He's everything. We all know who God is by definition. Okay. You claim to believe in him, right? Okay. Why should you fear death? You can there's this guy that people like to call as like the smartest person in the world right now. And I forget his name. Like I always say, I forget everybody else's name, but when it comes to Bible characters and God, I don't forget their names because these people are not important to me. But characters in the Bible are who are important to me. So I forget his name, but he does a lot of conferences and he speaks to like college students and people like to listen to him. And he said something that was pretty profound. He said, he doesn't like to say that he believes in God. Even though he feels that there may be a God, he doesn't like to say that. He doesn't like to utter those words. And the reason why he doesn't like to utter those words is because he knows that if he were to believe in God for who God is, then it should absolutely change your life. It should absolutely change your life. So for those who say, yeah, I believe in God, but their lives, their livelihood doesn't really show it, it's kind of like a slap in the face to God. Because it's like, okay, so you believe that this supreme, utterly supreme being exists, but yet you don't talk about him much. You let other things become more of a priority in your life. You don't put faith in him. You worry a lot. So who is God to you then, if that's how you if that's how you live your life after believing in him? So it's better to say that you don't know if he exists or not. It's better to say that than to say you believe in him, but yet your life does not show that you believe in an utterly supreme being that exists. So I would put myself in these life and death situations in my mind, and I still do to this day. And I make sure, first of all, the process is you have to prove to yourself that God exists. It's easy to believe, especially if you grew up in a Christian household, or if you're in a community of believers. It's very easy to believe at that point. But when you're isolated, when you're not amidst groups of people who, whether they're faking it or not, if the aura is spiritual, it's easy for you to think you're spiritual. But once you're put out of that situation, and once your life is threatened for God, not just any type of life-threatening situation, but you're threatened for God, oh, you believe in God? Okay, well, we're going to kill you today. And they're going to put they're going to tie your hands up. They're going to put you in some terrible situation. And then in the end, they'll kill you. But you're going to die for God. Will you have a shred of fear in you? Now, see, my perspective is that if you believe in God, if you actually believe in God, which for me, it shouldn't be belief. It should be a knowledge of God. You should know God, not just believe in him. Because like I always like to say, you don't believe you exist, you know you exist, right? If you were to say you believe you exist, that's a foolish statement because you don't believe you exist, you know that you exist. So you shouldn't believe in God, you should know God, right? So now if you know God, if you know that he exists, should you really fear death at all? No, you shouldn't. So that's why lately I've been trying to get people to be on my mindset. Like, don't just when your life is not threatened, when you don't test yourself and by putting your state of mind in those situations where it's life and death to see how you're gonna feel, like they're gonna throw you off of a building. They're going to throw you in front of a train. They're going to run you over with a car. They're going to chop your arms off. They're going to remove your fingers little by little and then your arm. You're going to die a slow death. You're going to drown. You're going to get eaten by sharks. They're going to put you inside the dirt, where only your neck and your head is exposed. And they're going to let insects eat at your face until you die. Like, I put my mind through these situations all the time. And when I first started doing that, I realized that my faith wasn't really where it ought to be. Because when you're not facing life and death, it's easy to say you believe in God. Because remember, common sense tells you there's a God, yes. But sometimes there's that doubt in you because of what you hear the foolish people talking about and what this world perpetuates. Sometimes you have a shred of doubt. So, but remember, because you grew up as a Christian, because it's already indoctrinated in you to have some form of belief that many people talk about spirit world and all that, it's easy for you to say, yeah, you believe in God until you're actually tested. So until I started putting my mind in those situations, or when I started putting my mind in those situations, that's when it really hit me that, okay, yeah, I believe in God, but there's too much doubt in me when I put my mind through those life and death situations. And it's not the doubt where it's like, I don't know he's there or not, because I believe he's there. But to know he's there, you should have no fear. So do I really believe? Do I really know of his existence? And so that's when I started going into the evidences. So I went through all the forms of science there are, all the layers of science: biology, origin of life, the theories of evolution, Darwinism. I tested everything out, tested the scriptures. So I went through an extensive, this was an extensive part of my life. So right now, I know what I know. Like I said in my last video, I know what I know. But I want others to be on that same mindset. Because when I went through that experience of I should have no doubt and I should have no fear in the face of death, when I was going through that experience, my faith was already strong. And my faith was already above that of the average person who claims to believe in God. So it dawned on me, I was like, if that could happen to me, as spiritual as I am, then I know most people are not at that level. And I want most people who claim to believe in God to get to that level. That's my goal. Because those are the kind of people that God is seeking. Those who really know of his existence. And there's a passage in the Bible that's become one of my favorites. It's not my favorite, but one of my favorites because I have way too many. And it's in Psalms where it says that the Almighty looks down upon the human race to see if there is anyone who is truly wise, if there is anyone who seeks God. Now, 12 minutes, okay. Now, as I was doing the research, you come to realize that only a wise person would believe in God. And like I said, not just belief, but would know that there is a God. Only a wise person would know this. That's why Solomon wrote all the things he wrote. He was the wisest man who ever lived. But towards the end of his life, he deviated because of his many wives. But he knew God existed. Knowledge leads to life. Stupidity is what leads, knowledge is what leads to belief in God, which leads to life. Stupidity is what leads one away from God. So, like I said, all these scientists, they used to be evolutionists, because one scientist said that it wasn't until after he became a professor and he was writing a book, and his students came to him with a couple of questions, and he was testing, certain theories in that field particularly. And it dawned upon him, and he was reading a couple of books, and it dawned upon him that he felt so betrayed. He's like, why haven't I seen these arguments in all the years that I've been studying, as a colleague? And like I'm saying, he's made crazy discoveries, but the more advanced they become in their field, the more they realize the utter foolishness of the theory of evolution, and the utter foolishness of those who say there is no God. That statement, there is no God, can only come from a lack of knowledge. It can only come from a lack of knowledge. So I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm going to end it here. And I want to refer you guys to my last video. And if you don't want to hear me talking, just skip to the 11-minute 40-second video. Okay? Part of the video, seconds of the video. And just listen to those scientists talk. And check out all the people that I referenced in that video. I referenced them like after the 11-minute mark. So you might have to start at the 11-minute mark. Pause it where I referenced them. Write down their names. It's not all of them that I wrote, but I wrote enough. And I wrote down like the videos where you can search up on YouTube. And just start strengthening your faith. Okay? And put yourself through those mind games and test yourself and see where your faith really is. I think that's extremely important. There's something else that I forgot to mention, where I was talking about two other things I forgot to mention, where I was speaking about where they're going to persecute you. That they're going to persecute you, and like they may have your hands tied behind your back. Now, I believe, this is my own opinion, and this is like what I would do. So I'm just keeping it real. If it's something where they're going to try to take advantage of you and abuse you, you know, like, for example, if it's a woman, they might try to rape her, you know what I mean? Or, you know, if you're a guy, they might try to take advantage of you. Well, in that situation, this is what I feel like is a strong feeling. I have every right to fight back, you know. And if you're a woman, yeah, they're going to try to persecute you for Christ, but they're also going to try to rape you. Well, no, fight back. For me, I'm fighting back. You know what I mean? Don't let somebody take advantage of you in that sense. But if it's something where, see, that's where it becomes this grave matter. It's like, which death do you accept? You know what I mean? So for me, it's like, if they're going to chop my head off, yeah, all right, do it. You know, they're going to guillotine me, yeah, do it. You know, but not something where they're going to try to take advantage of me. No, I'm not going to let that happen to me. And I'm not going to let that happen to my fellow female Christian. You know what I mean? I'm going to intervene. I'm not going to let that happen. I'm just not going to do it. That's not death. That's abuse. It's different. You might say death is abuse too. No, you're dying for Christ. You're not going to get raped for Christ. You know, no. So you have to understand that, right? So now that's just my take on it. You do how you let the death come upon you how you want, but my take, fight back. Like there are things you submit to, you know, and there are things that you don't submit to. As a matter of fact, even I remember there's a scripture where Paul says that men who submit to homosexual acts will not inherit the kingdom. Well, it's like if it's a man or a woman who's a Christian, and they try to rape the woman or they try to rape the man, well, even though the woman being raped is not homosexuality, it's kind of the same principle. Don't submit to it, right? Don't submit to getting raped. No, fight back. The same thing with a man. Even worse. No, definitely fight back. You know what I'm saying? So don't let that happen to you. So I'm not saying, yeah, let them do whatever they want to you because you're a Christian and you're going to die for Christ. No. Fight back. And the way I'm going to go out, honestly, I know they're going to kill me. I know the odds are stacked up against me. So honestly, I will fight back and let them kill me going out trying. Like, that's my mentality on it. That's my take on it. And God already knows that's my mentality. You know what I mean? So that was the first thing I wanted to address. The second thing I wanted to address was, I have to emphasize this because this is the whole point of this video. Once you convince yourself and prove to yourself, not convince yourself, because to me that's weak. Prove to yourself that Elohim exists, okay? And he is there. Once you know this, again, it should utterly change your life. You should seek him with all your resources, with all your might, with all your mind, with all your vital energy. You should be utterly consumed with the Almighty. Because if after knowing his existence, you don't do that, can you ponder and understand how disrespectful that is? So please, let him be everything to you. Please. But first, prove to yourself. Okay? All right, so I'll end it on that note.